Okay, so for this next part, we're going to look at the autonomic nervous system, which is the portion that is under involuntary control. So it's the stuff that's controlling um, like the heart, the lungs, the digestive system, the urinary system, reproductive systems, etc. So this one's going to require much more space. So I'm going to turn off my video so that I have like a nice space for me to draw out on. But what you'll notice is in the supplemental file, you either have this slide, or it's a combination of both of them together. Essentially, what I'm going to do is going to do a side by side of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. So it's kind of up to you how you want to draw this on one slide, or you want to do it on two slides individually. I think I'm going to do it on this one slide altogether. And I'm going to cut this into two videos, basically. Okay. So I'm going to hide all my stuff so that I have enough room. All right. First thing first, we want to understand is that you see that on both sides of this slide, I have the same exact pictures. That is going to be my effectors. So what I'm going to do is over on one side, I'm going to make this parasympathetic. And then the other side, I'm going to make sympathetic. Okay. Essentially, we're going to have two divisions of our autonomic nervous system. Those two divisions are either parasympathetic or sympathetic. Remember that the parasympathetic, this system's doing rest and digest. So just what I said in class, everything that you want to have happen in paradise, which is to be restful and to be digesting. You know, you have your nice drink, you have your nice food, you sleep a lot, you just kind of hang out, relax. In sympathetic, this is going to be a stress response. Okay, it's often called fight or flight response. But usually what I find is that students understand the stress response better. So think about your body being more active. And I hate to say that because there are going to be certain parts of your body that are more active and other parts that are not. So we're going to first look at dual innervation in a side-by-side. Basically, parasympathetic and sympathetic have to innervate the exact same effectors. Remember, these effectors are going to be muscles. So you're talking about smooth muscle or cardiac muscle. Most of your organs in your ventral body cavity are made out of smooth muscle, except for the heart, which is made out of cardiac muscle. So we're going to see that we have our iris here, which is going to change our pupil size like this. So you can think about pupil for this one. And I gave you pictures because I usually draw this, but I find students have a harder time drawing. So we have lungs and we have heart over here. And then again, we have lungs and heart. And here we have the digestive system. So in this case, I'm actually going to break the digestive system into foregut, like that. And then our midgut ends, I mean, it's really hard to say because this is not exactly correct. This is our midgut area. And here we have hindgut. I'm going to do that so that you understand foregut, midgut, hindgut innervation. And the same thing over here, foregut. And then right about, where did I make my line? Like right about here is going to be midgut. And here we have hindgut. Okay, and then I have my urinary system. So we want to think about what's going to happen in each of these divisions to our effector. Is our effector going to increase activity or decrease activity? We're going to see that in parasympathetic, our pupil size should go down, whereas in sympathetic, our pupil size goes up, right? Here, I want to bring in more light to my eye so that I have enough light that I can run away if I need to. So here for the lungs and the heart in parasympathetic, I want breathing rate and I want heart rate to decrease because I'm trying to go to sleep. I'm trying to digest. For sympathetic, I'm going to see that my breathing rate and my heart rate should increase here because I better think about running away or standing my ground and fighting. So that stuff's going to work extra. Now, when we get to the gut tube in parasympathetic, you want to understand that here we're going to increase our activity to our gut tube. Okay, we'll just say gut tube here. The gut tube increases. This means you actually actively contract those muscles. Over here, our gut tube is going to decrease its activities. It means less blood flow. We're not contracting those muscles. And then for our urinary system, again, here we're going to increase our activity for our urinary system. I'll put my arrow right there instead. And then over here on our sympathetic, we're going to see that our activity for our urinary system should go down. You see how we have the same effectors doing opposite actions. That doesn't mean that we're going to turn on sympathetic and parasympathetic simultaneously. We turn on parasympathetic, sympathetic turns off. We turn on sympathetic, we turn off parasympathetic. Okay, they can't be running at the same time. Heart rate can't go up and down simultaneously. It's just one or the other one. Okay, so we're going to get started on going over and looking at the parasympathetic. So not only do you know functions, now we need to think about what's going to happen in terms of the anatomy. How am I going to use my 2-neuron system in order to get all the way over to my effector? So I'm going to color code this for you guys, where the green portion is, I can't remember what I did in office hours. I'm sorry. So I'm just gonna use whatever. The green portion is going to be long, and then the blue stuff is what I'm going to make short. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a black circle, and this is going to be my ganglion. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do for parasympathetic is I'm going to put my ganglion where they need to go, and that's going to help me remember, is my preganglionic neuron long or is it short? And then what about my postganglionic neuron? What you should see is that we're going to have our ganglion really, really close to each of our effectors. Like they're pretty much going to be almost on top of the organ. Like really, they are on top of the organ. So I'm going to draw my ganglion like on top of my organs here. Okay, this might end up becoming a crazy mess, but I'm really hoping not. So since we have our ganglion really, really close to our organ, what we're going to see is our very first neuron has to be long, because that neuron has to go all the way to the ganglion to send the message. So the other thing we want to know about for parasympathetic is we're going to see that our neurons for our preganglionic neuron, our cell bodies for our preganglionic neuron are going to either be in the brain or down here in the sacral region. Ooh, maybe I should have picked a different color. Or in the sacral region of the spinal cord, okay? So I'm going to see that I'm going to have a really long axon that's going to come to my ganglion. And I'll have more really long axons that are going to basically come to my ganglion right there. You're going to even have ones that go all the way from the brain to the foregut and then also to the midgut right there. And what we should see is coming from the sacral portion, those ones are going to hit our hindgut areas, and they're also going to hit our urinary system, which technically is partially derived from hindgut. So it's kind of the same thing. So we're going to see here, this one, I'm going to bypass, I'm going to go there, and then this one, I'm going to go here, and then this one, I'll go like that. Okay, so I'm going to have my preganglionic neurons going to be long, and then my postganglionic neuron, which is going to be blue here, is going to be short. So I see my postganglionic neuron is actually going to be really short, just like that. Perfect. And then we're just going to add our foregut, midgut, and hindgut information on here. So we have foregut, we have midgut, we have hindgut. All we have to do is circle these two axons here, and that's going to represent my cranial nerve 10, which is my vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve innervates foregut and it innervates midgut structures. In order to innervate my hindgut, I'm going to have my sacral outflow. And the sacral outflow is going to be the segments S2 to S4, just like that. So now I understand foregut, midgut, and hindgut. And here maybe you can kind of understand like all this stuff is part of foregut. And then all of this stuff is part of midgut. So I only have to remember what's my innervation for midgut to know that that's the same innervation for all the structures that would be found in midgut. It's going to help us a little bit, especially when we get into 2240. Okay, because you'll have to know specific organs and their innervation. So for the next video, I'm going to do the sympathetic. Okay, so I want you to think about for parasympathetic, again, what's happening to each of our organs, and write that down so you understand. I know it says up, it says down, but add some additional information like the things that I just talked about in the video, but I didn't specifically write down.